that classic version was not an accounting system. It was an invoicing system as it was originally designed to be. To the business owner, they thought it was an accounting platform, but to an accounting professional, we knew that it wasn't. And so it was in 2016, a brand new platform was released. And since 2016, that there's been numerous product features built out in the platform that have made it even more robust as an accounting software.
You're listening to The Successful Bookkeeper with your host, Michael Palmer. Listen each week as inspiring guests share their secrets of success to help you increase your confidence, work smarter, and build a business you love. This episode of The Successful Bookkeeper is brought to you by PureBookkeeping.com, the proven system to grow your bookkeeping business.
Welcome back to the Successful Bookkeeper podcast. I am your host, Michael Palmer, and today's show is going to be a fantastic one. Our guest is recognized as one of the top 50 women in accounting. She is the head of FreshBooks Accountant Channel, and I'm very happy she's on the show today. Twyla Verhelst, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm really thrilled to be here.
It's great to have you. And, I know quite a bit about you and seen you at conferences and involved in all sorts of great things and, very active on social media and doing lots in the industry. But I want to make sure our listeners know who you are. So Twyla, tell us a little bit about yourself so we can get to know you.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Michael. And you're right. We have met a number of times, and I hope that we can meet again soon in person once conferences resume and are no longer virtual. But I'm a CPA. I certainly am not a traditional accountant. Truth be told, I never became an accountant to be an accountant. I always just thought accounting would be my plan B, my backup plan in case I needed something to fall back on when entrepreneurship didn't work out for me, or if it didn't work out for me. And, I grew up in an entrepreneurial home. My parents were business owners. And so I stepped into accounting thinking it shouldn't be a myth, no matter where I go in the business world. Once I got my designation, I spent a year as a controller inside of a manufacturing company. And when that was kind of coming to a close, my career took a real meandering path. I started my own business at that point, then relocated and sold out of that business and did some recruiting for accountants. And then it was in that process of recruiting for accountants that I met my business partner, and we started a outsourced accounting firm. At that point, it was 2080 Financial, and it's here in Calgary, Alberta, and it's still a firm and still has clients to this day. When we were in the firm and working with clients, we did bookkeeping through to outsource CFO and what's now called advisory work, all inside of that practice. And so within that, we started to do a lot of cash flow forecasting and cash management for our clients, which then led to the next step in my career, which was my business partner and I decided to go on the journey of a software startup and create a cash flow forecasting tool. It's called Helm, and it launched in the market about a year or a year and a half ago. Has an integration with Xero and QuickBooks Online, and it's really kind of evolved as a cash flow forecasting tool, especially in this past year when there's been a lot of cash flow needs and some changes kind of in terms of business needs or client needs. And it was in that experience with Helm when I really started to kind of come out from under a rock, per se. And, when we had our own firm, we really were heads down and focused on creating the client experience and using technology and scaling our accounting practice. But once we started Helm, then I really started to get connected with other accounting professionals, bookkeepers and accountants in the cloud accounting space all across North America. Well, really all across the globe, but especially focused on North America. And that then was kind of the kickoff of something that was just kind of greater or kind of beyond even what I expected in terms of where my career would take me. And that was really utilizing all the experience that brought me over the past 20 years of my career to that point of having accounting experience and entrepreneur experience and software experience, and working then with the accounting community at large, that then kind of flipped over into my starting with FreshBooks. And so I started with FreshBooks in April of 2020, and we launched the brand new Accounting Professionals program here at FreshBooks. So my role, as you mentioned, is head of the accountant channel, which means I'm really, really in this kind of great spot of still working with the accounting community at large and really kind of supporting and helping other accounting professionals all across North America, and doing that inside of a global company that's been around since 2003, has built a really great product, and is in a spot now where they want to collaborate with and support this accounting community that I've become a part of. So that kind of brings us to today in 20 years and in a couple of minutes that all have kind of one step has led to the next that has brought me to the position that I'm in today.
Wow, so there's a lot to talk about, lots along your journey that I think our listeners can learn from, and maybe let's start from the end, which is the FreshBooks accounting channel, which you're heading up, and you've said a little bit about that. But I think it's exciting, and we've had the founder of FreshBooks on the podcast in the past, and heard about the journey and remarkable journey for FreshBooks. But I don't think many in our industry would have looked at FreshBooks as something that they, it's very micro-sized businesses that have used FreshBooks, but it's changing, it's expanding, and in fact, the amount of customers that FreshBooks has is remarkable. Around North America, well, probably globally. It's a very large company. And so now I guess the focus is on helping, maybe tell us a little bit about that. The focus is on helping accountants get familiar with the tool or be able to utilize the tool more. What does that look like?
Yeah, everything that you said there is bang on. And, really, since 2003, FreshBooks has built what I would call raving fans that absolutely love the software. But those raving fans are traditionally the business owners. So it's business owners who are looking to use a tool that they feel comfortable navigating. They can efficiently do their workflow. And really, initially, it was designed as an invoicing platform that Mike, our founder, as you mentioned, he was a business owner, and he wanted to create a better experience where he could issue invoices to his customers that were professional and timely and sent electronically so that he could get paid quickly. Every business wants to get paid. That's ultimately the purpose of being in business, is to be rewarded for your service or your product. And so since 2003, it's been a heavy focus on creating a product and an experience for the business owners. And in 2016, which a lot of accounting professionals don't know, is that in 2016, FreshBooks launched an entirely new platform. And so if you're like myself and you previously looked at FreshBooks, but it was a number of years ago, you would have seen what we call our classic version of FreshBooks. And to most bookkeepers and accountants, that classic version was not an accounting system. It was an invoicing system as it was originally designed to be. To the business owner, they thought it was an accounting platform, but to an accounting professional, we knew that it wasn't. And so it was in 2016, a brand new platform was released. And since 2016, that there's been numerous product features built out in the platform that have made it even more robust as an accounting software. And so it's not really been up until recently that FreshBooks has had the right product to start to really support and message to the accounting community and really start to be a part of the tech stack that they would recommend for their clients or use in conjunction with their clients. And so a year and a half ago, FreshBooks started on this journey of researching, is our product ready? What's evolved in the industry? Because gosh, we all know that the past 5 to 10 years in this industry have just been miraculous changes. So the industry had evolved, the product had evolved, and so after about a year and a half worth of research led by one of the members of the executive team, then it was determined that, yeah, the product is ready and the industry is ready in terms of being open to using a new platform that might be different than a platform that they've been using in the past. And so that's where the launch of the program came in. And inside of the program, part of my role includes all of that messaging that I just bundled there as to what's gone on inside of FreshBooks. How might it be different than when you looked at it before? Or maybe you haven't looked at it before. And so I really work closely, and the team here works closely with all the partners that we're speaking to at various stages of their journey in becoming a partner to really help them establish an understanding of who FreshBooks is a good fit for and where it might fit into their practice and what type of workflow makes sense when you're using FreshBooks, or what app integrations do we have? We have an ecosystem of app integrations. And so where do those fit in when you're thinking about using this for a client? And so mostly, Michael, all day, every day, I am on a lot of calls right now, which is very intentional. It's intentional because the messaging, we want to be able to speak to these folks and really share our message around why they should consider using FreshBooks with their clients, or at least getting to know FreshBooks as an option. And then we're in information gathering mode. In the early stages of any program, you want to be able to listen to the feedback. What do the people need? And anytime that you sign up for a program, I recognize that there's a commitment of time there. And so we want to make sure we're giving value back for that time. And that value can come in various ways or in various forms, but that's part of the feedback, as well as product feedback. We know we have a feature roadmap that's going to specifically be features that are designed for accounting professionals to enhance their experience using FreshBooks. So we want that feedback. We want to know if the roadmap is accurate, or have we missed something, or do we need to prioritize something because we're hearing consistently that that's what needs to come next. So I'm very much a liaison and an advocate between our partners and our product team that's focusing on these features. I'm very much, in cross-functional conversations internally, working with different departments inside of FreshBooks to, again, be the voice of the accounting professionals. And then I'm talking to accounting professionals that are curious about FreshBooks. They're starting to become FreshBooks certified and become a partner, and really kind of be, sharing in their journey of becoming a partner and getting educated around FreshBooks and starting to learn more about FreshBooks and how that will work within their accounting or bookkeeping practice.
Wow, it sounds like quite a journey, and I'm curious what you found to be most that you think our listeners, bookkeeping business owners, are going to be most excited about with the opportunity of being a FreshBooks partner.
I could rattle off all of the benefits to becoming a partner around certification and referral commissions and dedicated support. I think that's maybe one that I might touch on. So if I had to pick two, honestly, I would say really being able to lean into a software that has been designed for business owners has been something that partners potentially haven't thought of when they first start to learn more about FreshBooks. And really what I mean by that is that we all can speak to our experience, bookkeepers and accountants can speak to your experience of when you have a client that you need them to do a piece of the workflow. And whatever that piece is, means that they have to use some sort of technology in order for you to be able to complete your workflow. So whether that's the client needs to create their own invoices because the invoices are so operational and a bookkeeper can't possibly know how to create those invoices and get them out in a timely fashion. They just don't have the information. Or maybe it's receipts. You're asking them to put receipts into the accounting software or into a receipt capture software. Or maybe it's coding of expenses because as a bookkeeper, you're like, well, I have no clue where you're spending your money or what these expenses are without the backup. Some piece of the workflow where you're putting a piece of technology in front of them. And so truly, if I'm being completely vulnerable and honest, I can say that in hindsight, I made some mistakes around this in terms of not giving it more thought as to what sort of experience I was creating for the client when I put a piece of technology in front of them that they felt really confused about or overwhelmed, or it felt clunky to them, or it wasn't a great user experience. But time and time again, I needed them to keep going in there and keep doing that piece of the workflow. Otherwise, nothing else would continue, and I couldn't give them their deliverables each month. And so that's something that I think is exciting about using FreshBooks, is that when that part of that client experience, I should say, is around that technology, and believe me, it is, it's in the technology you put in front of them, it's part of their client's experience. And so when that client experience and that technology is all kind of encompassed in a piece of your engagement with them, to think about, are you creating a friction spot with them right out of the gates every time that they're trying to log in and do their piece of the workflow? And so what we're seeing is that when partners who start to use FreshBooks kind of realize just how important that can be and how different it can be from the experience that they've created in the past, what can happen is you can actually get your business owner to do even a bit more of the workflow. And one might think, well, why do I want my business owner to do more of the workflow when potentially that might put me out of a job? But it won't if you set this up right. And what I mean by that is if you can have your business owner doing some of the data entry, honestly, some of the things that feel like you're pulling teeth to get information on, not only will it create a better experience, but it can also free you up as an accounting professional to do something else for that client. So maybe that's some forecasting. Maybe that's helping with getting some financing. Maybe that's some cash management. Maybe that's it can look like anything, but it's kind of that buzzword that we all talk about in terms of advisory. And I know that word can feel a little bit overwhelming, but if you just think about like how else could I add value to the client? Because at the end of the day, a lot of the things that unfortunately bookkeepers and accountants have to do hold no value to the client. And so the more that you can do that does hold some value, it will help to secure a real relationship with them, helps to strengthen your relationship with them, and really start to kind of mesh together and you become a part of their business, which ultimately every bookkeeper and accountant wants. I mean, we got into that business often because we want to help somebody. And so this helping nature that comes with being an accounting professional, you can have that be a greater subset of the work that you're doing if you're doing more work that adds value. And so then the other piece that I'll just mention is the dedicated support. And this is one that I really like to highlight, and I know partners get really excited about when they're joining FreshBooks, is when we were creating this program, it was super important to me that we had a dedicated support team that is focused on supporting the accounting partners in the program. And so these folks on this dedicated team, they're inside of our existing support team, but they have accounting experience. And so not only do you kind of skip the queue in terms of, getting somebody really specialized, you go straight to these folks, but these folks are specialized also in accounting. So they've got all the product and support knowledge coupled with they can talk debits and credits right out of the gate. And from my experience, not only is it frustrating when you can't get a hold of anybody, which I will say that FreshBooks is known for having really great customer support, but not only is that frustrating if you can't get through to anybody, but then secondly, if you get a hold of somebody and they don't understand the complexity of the problem that you're talking about. So maybe they don't understand reconciling, or they don't understand a financial report, or they don't understand a journal entry. That's frustrating as an accounting professional. So we've got a dedicated support team inside of our existing support team that all of the partners who become certified and join the program, they get access to that support team, which I know every time I say that to a partner, they're just, oh my goodness, thank you for making that important, because you don't want to have to use support, but the times when you need it, because you've got something pressing that your client needs, and it is just really something that I think is valuable and really speaks to the human nature or the human side of FreshBooks and the program that we're building for accounting professionals.
It sounds exciting, and I can see that on those two fronts alone, it's worth taking a look. And I think, like yourself, when you looked at FreshBooks, if you knew FreshBooks from years ago, you have a sort of a set view of what that product is, what it's capable of. That's changed. It's a whole new, fresh approach, if you will. pardon the dad pun there. But it's exciting, and I think you've said enough about it to what I see for our listener is this is something you should look into. There's a lot of people, a lot of business owners using that. That's a big opportunity. It's got great customer service, another great opportunity. And when we're talking about helping business owners, helping their life be easier, having them be involved with the process and owning their financial end and being empowered around their financial end of their business. I mean, that's what every great bookkeeper really wants. They want the owner to be empowered. So if they can be involved and the system is designed to help them and help them become more intimate with what's going on inside of their business around the finances, that's a huge benefit. And of course, it leads to doing what bookkeepers do great, and that's helping empower business owners around their finances. You got it all in there. What does it all mean? How can we make it better? How can we scale up your business? How we can get you the things that you want in your business? If you're doing that for business owners, they're going to name children after you, right?
Absolutely, for sure. Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
That's better than the opposite. So that's pretty cool.
Yep. And I think I've been in the opposite side too. And so I know both sides of that, where I've got the client that even when you're in a spot where you're like, I can't be your accounting professional anymore, that you can't get rid of them no matter how hard you try. But I've also had the ones who I'm sure were cursing my name. And truly I was cursing theirs too. And it wasn't a good relationship. And I really wasn't doing anybody any favors. And a lot of that in hindsight, I can see stems from not giving them a good client experience with the technology. And then nothing else mattered from there because it was all broken at that point.
So what I also like a lot about what FreshBooks has done is, they've hired you to come in and be the liaison and help ensure that what's there is going to work for accountants and bookkeepers and in their business, what's going to be important to them. And you've been there. Not only have you been there in building your own firm, you've been there in terms of designing software for the community to help them make their lives better and as well their clients' lives better. So they couldn't have picked a better person, I think, to do that. And so maybe let's talk a little bit about your journey and some of the, as we mentioned in the beginning, you've done a lot of different things. You've been in the industry for a while, growing your business, the brand that you create, attracting great customers into your practice. We could talk about a lot of those things. What would you say your strong point was in growing your business?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of growing our accounting firm, when we first started, we spent a year using desktop for the most part. This was kind of right at the time when QB Desktop was still a thing, and logging in remotely was still a thing, and QBO was just kind of at the initial stages of really trying to build out its feature set to be the replacement for QBD. So when it first started, we had a lot of clients either on desktop or on another, more like an ERP system, only because they kind of paid for that licensing for some of our larger clients that we had right from day one. And so we were trying to scale using that software. And so it wasn't until a year into our firm that we felt like we had learned enough, and we kind of ripped off the Band-Aid and started almost from scratch. And we had a team at the time, and truly our change management skills might not have been as fine-tuned as they should have been, because although the change was great for us, it wasn't necessarily great for our team and our clients. Though they leaned us into us enough to know whatever you recommend is what I'll use, and so they trusted us. It just was a really fast transition, but we didn't make that fast transition because we saw that the technology could create so many efficiencies. And so when you talk about helping a client, so when we were on desktop, we were very manual data entry, and even with that ERP system, still very manual data entry. We had a team of 10. And when we changed over to using cloud technology, fully cloud tech, and using the receipt capture on the front end and the accounting software and even some bill pay software on the back end, payroll software, obviously. Then we actually scaled right down. First, we scaled to myself, my business partner, and 2 of us. And then we scaled back to just myself and my business partner. And this was a real exercise because we didn't lose any clients. In fact, we gained some clients during that time frame. And so it was an exercise in learning how much can the software do now? Like what can we push? How far can we push tech to do a lot of this work? And when we did that, that was when we started to free up time for things like cash flow forecasting, or for things like helping more with their HR and their payroll, or for things like helping them get financing or refinancing, helping them buy new businesses, etc. And so when we did that exercise, we scaled back our team. We grew it up again after, but we scaled back the team, utilized technology to, I think it's max, and we pushed some big limits there, especially 5 or so years ago. And then we also adjusted people's prices accordingly, which didn't necessarily feel good because they were paying us to do a lot of work, and they weren't asking for a reduction in pay, but we are in their bill. But we knew that we didn't need to charge them the amount that we were charging them in order to still do the work and give them some advisory. And so this is kind of that opportunity of like leaning into your technology and maybe really recognizing what's the right fit for that client. And whether it's using the tech more or having your client do a bit more of the workflow, then you can free up some time to do something else. And so we reduced some of those fees. We gave them more advisory. We strengthened relationships and really became a partner in their business. And that was the biggest pivot or biggest change we made inside of our practice. And with that, when it comes to scaling, and I talked about having some new clients that came along when we were going through all of that process, we didn't really advertise. I mean, we had a website, but the website kind of just sat there because we were so focused on internal processes at that time. And yet we still built our book of business. And that was because our clients became our best marketing. They were really, if I use the term again, the raving fans. And it's funny because we struggled with trying to put out a marketing message that even said what we did, because we weren't traditional bookkeepers, we weren't traditional accountants. But to explain everything that we did for these people was really, really difficult, especially if you're trying to be in short messaging marketing style. And so we struggled with that messaging. And when we went to our clients who were recommending us to their friends or fellow colleagues or fellow business owners, when we asked them, we're saying like, okay, so what do you tell them when you're sharing about our services? And they say, I don't really have a distinct way of sharing it either. I don't really know what you do, but I do know that I couldn't do this without you. And that from that point onward, it was set in our minds of, okay, we're here to create a client experience that they can't live without. And I mentioned already that, sometimes that didn't work. And other times, no matter how hard you tried, we had some clients that their relationship just wasn't working out, or when we started home, we needed to scale back a bit, and we couldn't get rid of them. And it took time to be able to find somebody new that they felt comfortable with and transition them over. And it was as much as a time as like, dear gosh, like I'm not a miracle worker here. To them, we were. And I think honestly, that's a piece of advice that I'm always giving people over the past 2 years is every time that you are setting up a new relationship with a client and you're in that client journey and you're inside of that engagement, what can you do for them that would make them say, I can't live without you, or my business would die without you, or I would really struggle without you. And gosh, 2020 was the year to push those relationships, because if you had clients who were feeling like, gosh, I can't live without you, you certainly weren't the first place that they looked on their income statement to see how can I scale back my expenses when my income has really diminished during COVID. So that's really a big part of our journey, and it was a learning. And still in hindsight, now that I'm steps away from the firm, I've had so many learnings even since, and one of the big ones is around this technology and how perhaps sometimes I mismatched them and got that wrong. But if I could say the flip side of what was the biggest thing that was to our advantage and that I could share with other people that I learned, was to constantly be thinking about that client experience and revisit it, because you can get in the trenches, you get in the day-to-day, especially this year when the world is kind of all over the place and you got clients all over the place and all these government things that you got to keep up with. And it's been a wild year. And so I think really now at year-end time, it's a great time to start thinking about, okay, how do I set up the right client experience? Or how can I get back to the client experience that I really wanted them to have? And that can mean different technology. That can mean a change in your scope. That could mean maybe you've got a couple of clients that you need to dismiss, or it could, maybe got to hire somebody. It could mean anything, but it's something that you can't just set it up once and you're done. It's something that you really need to revisit time and time again, because we lose sight of it. And I could say that I at times did lose sight of it, which is where I got the clients who weren't the raving fans, and that certainly can happen.
Yeah, I think there's great advice in there, and it's a foundational thing. We've talked a lot about it on the podcast recently, which is getting to know your client and really understanding them and what is it that they like, what is it that they don't like. Because simply, if you take things away from people that they don't like, they're going to like you for that, right? As you took away the things I don't like and you gave me more of what I like. Well, you can't do that if you don't know what they like and don't like. And then that's a conversation, and it's listening, and it's building a relationship and such that they're willing to share deeply what they don't like and truly don't like, or that's bugging them, or that's holding them back, or the challenges that they face in business and in life, really. But when you get there, you are able to be in that position, I think, of being the person that they can't live without. Great place to be. And some people, you'll never get there. And that's the other piece, is knowing that they're not a fit. They're not the one that you're going to be, the one that they can't live without. Well, help them find somebody that can be that for them, and build your practice with people that are the right fit.
Yeah, for sure. I absolutely agree. Yeah.
That's great. And what a journey. You really dived into technology and embraced it, and that has proven to be very beneficial for you and your firm. And I think now you're guiding others to do the same with FreshBooks, and as well Helm, and leading that into our industry. Twyla, tell us, FreshBooks, we've talked a lot about FreshBooks, talked a little bit about your business and some of the journey there. In terms of people getting to know FreshBooks and to check out and see, hey, is FreshBooks going to be right for me? Is it going to be right for my clients? Or what are the opportunities that are available for me with FreshBooks? What's the best way for them to go and find out more about this?
Yeah, sure. So 2 ways. I mean, they can reach out to me directly. I'm always open to that dialogue. And, as much as I can tell you who FreshBooks is a fit for, I'll also tell you who it's not a fit for, or where it might not create a good experience for you at this time. And so certainly they can reach out to me directly on LinkedIn or on Twitter. As you mentioned at the beginning, I do spend some time on social media. And then we also have a landing page on our website, which is specifically for accounting professionals. So if you go to freshbooks.com/accountants, that's really for our accounting professionals, so bookkeepers and accountants alike. And then we also have profiles for the accounting professionals program on LinkedIn and Twitter. So if you search the FreshBooks Accounting Professionals Program on LinkedIn or on Twitter, you'll find those there as well. So there's a few different places where you can connect with that. But by all means, feel free to reach out to me. And truly, I as I mentioned, I spend a lot of time on Zoom these days, but that is really intentional. I want to be able to chat with people. I want to be able to talk about the tech. I want to talk about your firm and get to know you too, and understand where FreshBooks can fit in, and where we can support you in your journey of providing that experience for your clients. And so I'm happy to chat anytime.
So fantastic. And I'm sure very valuable conversation if our listener decides to do that, knowing you and knowing what you've been doing for our industry. And so really exciting, and so grateful to have you on the show. And on behalf of our listeners, we thank you for joining us and sharing what you know about the industry.
Thanks so much, Michael. It's been a pleasure chatting with you and having an opportunity to connect with your listeners. And I hope that, again, that we get to meet in person again someday soon, but appreciate the chance to have this discussion with you.
Absolutely. Let's hope it's soon.
Yes, for sure.
And with that, we wrap another episode of the Successful Bookkeeper podcast. To learn more about today's wonderful guest and to get access to all sorts of valuable free business building resources, you can go to thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. Until next time, goodbye.
You've been listening to The Successful Bookkeeper with Michael Palmer. For more information and to download the resources mentioned in this episode, please visit us at thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. Thank you for listening.